Hi, my name is Kennedy Klein. As you already probably know, I am doing my final project on the similarities and differences of Paris is Burning, the film we watched in class, to Cabaret. And Cabaret is a Broadway show that I watched over Thanksgiving break. So to start off, I wanted to sort of summarize both. So to start with Paris is Burning, it's set in 1980s New York City. It focuses on Black and Latinx LGBTQ plus people and the drag scene that follows that. It focuses on these things called drag balls, and it is a way for people to express themselves, to really show their identity. It also addresses different themes of race, class, gender, the American dream, while also discussing the rise of the HIV/AIDS epidemic and sort of the transphobia and homophobia that followed that. In Cabaret, it focuses on 1930s Berlin, the club scene, the Kit Kat Club. That's the location. It focuses on the rise of the Nazi regime and how that sort of corrupts society and corrupts the Kit Kat Club. It also focuses on the pleasure and the realities of the world and sort of how they balance that. So I want to focus first of all on three specific characters. It was hard for me to choose hard for me to choose three specific characters, and three specific people from each Cabaret and Paris is Burning. But first, let's start with Paris is Burning. So I chose Paris Dupree, I think it's pronounced, Dorian Corey, and Pepper LaBeija. What do these three have in common? They are all mothers of the houses. So obviously Paris Dupree is the mother of the Dupree house, Dorian Corey, the Corey house, Pepper LaBeija, the LaBeija house. They each sort of address different things in the film, and I picked these three because I felt like they had the most screen time, they had the most time to talk about their lives. They're also older, they have more experience. So that was one of the reasons. It was really hard to choose three people to discuss, but I definitely wanted to choose these three. So Paris Dupree talks about realness. There's many terms presented in Paris is Burning. Realness is the one that stuck with me the most. And so realness, basically the art of blending into mainstream society. So that can be seen as realness being such a real heterosexual man or being a real woman that people in the public eye can't tell. It's also for femme realness, it's described like there is this scene in the documentary for femme realness where you don't come home with blood on your clothes, which sort of gives into that idea of the violence that's really taking place at this time. Next, Dorian Corey sort of gives commentary, thoughtful commentary on difficulties, living as a LGBTQ plus person in society, especially with the rise of the HIV/AIDS epidemic. Next, Pepper LaBeija, focuses on challenges faced by LGBTQ plus people of color. So all three are really important, and they give such deep insight into the film. For Cabaret, the three people I decide to focus on are Sally Bowles. Okay, I was gonna say Bodwell for some reason. Sally Bowles, Cliff Bradshaw, and MC. So, for sort of background, Sally Bowles is an English singer. She works at the Kit Kat Club, and she is not very well off. She is someone who is not respected in society because she has worked at the Kit Kat Club, but she eventually meets Cliff Bradshaw. Cliff Bradshaw is an American novelist who travels to Berlin to get inspiration for his next novel. He is also someone who is not financially doing well at this time. He comes in contact with this woman, Fraulein Schneider, and Fraulein Schneider is this landlord. At the beginning of the act, she's sort of like hostile. Cliff doesn't really have the money to afford this place, but offers all this work. Eventually, she does let Cliff stay there. Fraulein Schneider is sort of this main character, but I chose not to put her in these three because she comes into all these people's lives. She falls in love with this Jewish fruit vendor, Herr Schultz. But I will explain later in the film why this, or not in the film, in the Broadway show, why this love will never exceed to anything further. Next we have MC. MC is a commentator for the Kit Kat Club. He introduces everybody. He is in drag for most of the musical. He has a very gender fluid approach to fashion, to makeup. And I chose MC because he represents the change in the play, the rise of Nazism in the play through his fashion and through his makeup. It's super important. It's such a key part of the play that if you're not paying attention to it, you kind of miss it. And so with that, I wanted to bring up 5 key themes that are presented similarly in Paris is Burning to Cabaret. So the theme I want to start off with is escapism. How is this presented in both Paris is Burning and Cabaret? Well, in Paris is Burning, escapism is really represented in the balls. With the balls comes the houses. A lot of these people have no family, no friends, community. This is not a friendly place for people in society who don't fall into that heteronormative idea. And so these balls are a place where people can truly express their identity and not be ashamed of it. And also that is represented in the houses. You have the mother of the house or the father of the house. You have your whole family that is there to protect you. It's very fascinating to me, whether that's the LaBeija house or the Corey house or the Extravaganza. But it helps people be able to express their identity without feeling shame. And there's a core part in the documentary where I'm not sure if it's Pepper LaBeija or Dorian Corey, but they talk about how some of these people are in poverty. They don't have a roof over their heads. They're not sure when their next meal is coming, but they come to these balls because it helps them almost heal in a sense. For Cabaret, escapism is presented through the Kit Kat Club. So that is an escape from the rising political turmoil. So it is a place where people don't have to address this. They can come, they can have a fun time. This is not addressed until it is absolutely critical to be addressed. And I just find that very interesting. It is also a place where people find identity. In the beginning of the film, everyone has this beautiful introduction. They have these extravagant costumes, this extravagant makeup. Everyone loves each other so much and is cheering on each other. It's super cool. The next topic I want to bring up is illusion of control. Illusion of control. What I think when I think of Paris is Burning, illusion of control, I do sort of focus on Venus Extravaganza. She's someone who felt in control. A lot of bad things happened to Venus. And there's this scene in the documentary where she's at a man's place and they are getting intimate, and he starts touching her, and eventually hate crimes Venus, saying that he's gonna kill her, probably has AIDS, all this stuff. Venus eventually feels so threatened that she jumps out the window and is saying, I'll never do this ever again. But you realize that none of these people in Paris is Burning are actually in control, because you focus on the American dream. So what does that look like? That is white America. The people in control, white Americans, male, heterosexual. There is no place in executive corporate America where people of color can succeed, or where it is popular to succeed. It is a white America and was built for white Americans to succeed. And it's tragic how Cabaret presents the illusion of control is the people, they feel that they are in control of their lives. They come to the Kit Kat Club, but they are really not in control because of the Nazi regime is rising. They try to avoid this political turmoil for as long as humanly possible. It is not fully addressed until the last musical number, where MC, the commentator, everyone is standing around him, wearing the same clothes, plain makeup, no makeup at all, bare gray clothes, dark, like just super depressing. They have all lost their sense of identity because they have conformed to the Nazi regime. MC starts singing a German lullaby about Nazis, and they all follow suit. They all conform to Nazi ideology. It's a really sad part in the film, but you realize people lose control over their sense of identity, and they decide to conform to the societal standards. The next topic I want to bring up is love and loneliness. Love and loneliness. So, for both, everyone wants love. Everyone in society wants love. Paris is Burning, there is a scene in the documentary where different people are asked, what do they want in their life? Whether that's to start a family, have kids, husband, a significant other, to find a connection, to find a community, long-lasting, whether that's to leave New York, anything. Love is sort of at the center of that. What I noticed is that a lot of people express this feeling of loneliness, and that can also be seen in Cabaret. I look at this main character, Sally. She is someone who has love, but does not accept it. She has a security with Cliff Cliff wants to escape and move back to the United States. He realizes the political turmoil, the political rising of Nazism, and tells Sally they need to move to the United States to escape this. Sally has this decision to stay in Berlin or to move back to the United States. She is pregnant with Cliff's child. Towards the end of the musical, you find out that Sally aborts Cliff's child and chooses to stay in Berlin and work at the Kit Kat Club. Towards the end, the last number, musical number, you find out that she conforms to Nazi ideology. It's really sad because she was such a liberating character, but she chose not to continue her life with him. You also look at love with Fraulein Schneider and Herr Schultz. She was so in love with him, they planned on getting married, and then one of their friends comes to the Kit Kat Club and tells Fraulein Schneider that you should not marry Herr Schultz. He is not real German. Although he is born in Germany, he is Jewish, he is not a real German. And eventually, while he's at the Kit Kat Club, his coat is ripped off him, and you find out that he is a Nazi. The friend and Fraulein Schneider later in the musical decides not to marry Herr Schultz because she believes, it's going to ruin her reputation, but it will also put her in danger because Herr Schultz has already been hate crimed after the friend is found to be a Nazi. And so it's really just this tragic moment in the play because you found this love, but you won't accept it because of society. One of the other topics I want to bring up is hope versus despair. We have so much hope for these characters. I had so much hope for Venus Extravaganza to find love, to escape, to not be a victim of violence just because of her identity. But you find out there's more of this despair. There is so much hate and transphobia and homophobia going on right now because there's a lot of fake media being put out, and misinformation about the HIV AIDS epidemic. And it is tragic to see. As for Cabaret, you have hope that these people don't conform to Nazi ideology. But they do end up conforming. And it's tragic because there's love, there's friends, community, identity, and that is all lost due to this Nazi regime. It's absolutely tragic. My last and final topic I wanted to bring up is drag. So this is why I wanted to do both topics for my final project. The main topic was drag, and then I started searching into it more and realized there were so many similar themes. But the main reason I decided to do this on my final project was drag. So this was sort of like the main concept for the film, to show what these drag balls are like, to show this community that may not have been super well known at the time. And that film sort of offers that insight. You see these people, there's so many different forms of drag, like military was one of them that I thought was super interesting, realness, executive. There were so many different like forms of it that I had never heard of actually. And I just thought it was super cool. And so there's that. In cabaret, it's definitely presented at the Kit Kat Club, for sure, the beginning of it. Later in the film, drag, it basically doesn't exist, like at all, because the Nazi regime. The Nazis didn't only target Jewish people, but also people who were transgender or people who were part of the LGBTQ+ community. That Nazi regime targeted those people. You see that throughout the film, especially through MC's character, which I was gonna bring up later, like I said earlier in my presentation. But MC, main commentator, extravagant makeup, extravagant outfits, and that is lost at the end of the play. Lost this sense of identity, this sense of longing, basically just a human body that follows everything that is told to him. He was a character that represented gender fluidity, and wasn't afraid to express himself and show up in drag. But throughout the musical, there is less and less. There is no happiness. And it's just insane to see. You see this community. Even throughout hard times in history, drag brings this community to people who may have felt exiled from community, people who didn't have family, didn't have friends to turn to, and was pushed out of society because of their identity that they can't change. And the Kit Kat Club and the balls were places people could go to find their community. And I thought that was beautiful. That's why I really focused on these two. I'm definitely gonna do a more historical point of view in my writing aspect of it. But I thought these two were so influential, and that's why I want to do my final project on it. So, thank you.